Hey, what's up guys? Radku here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today is going to be Buster Blader. Now, this is kind of strange because Buster Blader hasn't really been much of a deck, but that is why I splashed Crusadia into it. So, this is based off of a few other decks that I've seen. Crusadia actually works really well, being able to extend link plays and frankly being able to set up some of the best boards that I've ever seen, being able to lock your opponent out of all card effects, and being able to just set up some crazy negations. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So starting things off, I played one copy of Buster Blader and one copy of Buster Blader the Destruction Sword Master. So these two cards are fairly similar, but Buster Blader is surprisingly better. The thing is that Buster Blader, the Destruction Sword Master, is really good, and it has a way better effect where it gains 1,000 attack for each dragon, and you could basically, this card's effect is this card's name becomes Buster Blader while it's on the field or in the graveyard. I wish it continually stayed Buster Blader, but it's fine. If a monster your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of those monsters, equip it to this card. Once per turn, you can send one monster card you control that is equipped to this card to the graveyard. Destroy all monsters uh, your opponent controls with the same type. So basically, the big thing is that this card can equip Destruction Sword cards and then wipe your opponent's field pretty easily. But that's really not the point of this deck. The whole point is to set up your control style with Buster Blader, the Destruction Sword Master, and Buster Dragon. So having these two are okay, but I'd suggest running two Buster Blader, but I wanted to put the Destruction Sword Master in here just because it's literally the only other actual Buster Blader card. Then I played 3 copies of Buster Whelp of Destruction Swordsman. So this card's actually really good. It's the searcher for the deck, and it has a decent special summon effect. When this card is normal summon, you can add 1 Destruction Sword card from your deck to your hand, except for this card. Then you can only use the following effect once per turn. Use one of the following effects once per turn, and only once per turn. You can tribute this card, special summon 1 Buster Blader from your hand or graveyard, so pretty good. You can discard 1 Destruction Sword and special summon this card. So you can discard the Destruction Sword to go into a Link Karibo to continue your plays, which is actually really good. And then I played 3 copies of Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. This might seem weird to run it at 3 copies, considering that sometimes it will be a brick, but frankly, you could just normal summon it and then go into some of your Crusadia plays and pretty easily do stuff there, which is actually really good. Then I play 1 copy of Wizard Buster Destruction Sword. So there are some ways to get to your Destruction Swords with your trap cards. So the ability to search out your Destruction Sword and selectively pick through them with Saryuja is actually pretty easy. So I suggest running this at 1 copy because if you draw into it, you draw into it and that's good. But if you don't draw into it, you're not going to lose a ton in the deck. 1 copy of Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. This can just fuel your plays because you have dragon monsters, plus it's your prime target for Guard Dragon LP. Then I play 3 copies of Crusadia Maximus. Crusadia Maximus is just a generic Crusadia card. Maximus is the reason I played the Crusadia engine is because they're super easy special summons. So I was building this deck as a pure Buster Blader deck, but the problem I came across is that it lacked any consistency whatsoever, and I wanted to go into Link plays. I just couldn't because the deck wasn't consistent enough. So, in order to do this, I watched a few deck profiles, and everybody was saying that the Crusadia cards can actually up the consistency a ton in this deck. And it really did, because you can go into combo plays, and no matter what, you're almost always going to end up with an Appaloosa or Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax if you really want to. Then I play 2 copies of Crusadia Art Erebora. You know what I mean. Um, so this card is really good. It's the same special summon effect, but I played it at 2 copies because the effects aren't as good as your other Crusadia cards. Plus, it's summonable off of Hulk, and you can still use its effect even if it's summoned by Hulky Fibrax. But your main targets for Hulk are going to be your Destruction Sword cards. But this is still a prime target, and it can help you in link plays to switch up LP and LP, and you have the ability to search it out with Reinforcement of the Army, which is the only reason I play this card. Then I play 3 copies of Crusadia Draco. This is actually like the best Crusadia card in the deck. So Draco's effect is so you can link special summon it to a zonal link monster points to, like all the other ones, and then if this card is normal or special summon to a zonal link monster points to you can target 1 Crusadia card in the graveyard, add it to your hand, which means that you can fuel your link plays with stuff like Hulk, which is actually really, really powerful because it's super easy to summon back a Crusadia card if you like discarded it or something. You still have a ton of plays there. Then I play 3 copies of Crusadia Reclusa. So another play you can do is have Reclusa on the field. Let's say you have like a Hulky Fibrax. You summon your Ouroboros with Hulk, and then you special summon Crusadia Reclusa to a zone a link monster points to. Then you can set that up, and then you're able to fuel the destruction effect it has without having to destroy a card, because this card can prevent destruction. And I thought the destruction negation was pretty much one of the weakest effects, so that's why I set up more ways to search it as opposed to playing more copies of it, because I really didn't like it at more than 2 copies. Then I played 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Pretty good. You might want to play a Infinite Impermanence, but I liked this because it was more of a budget option. Plus, this deck isn't super expensive, not counting the actual like super expensive cards like Buster Dragon or even the Destruction Swordmaster. Then I play 1 copy of Destruction Swordsman's Fusion. So the thing is that this card is actually searchable in the deck, which is why I only played it in 1 of. A lot of people don't play this card, and I don't understand why, because you have no way of actually special summoning this card unless you play it, because this deck doesn't have any built-in fusion, and this isn't a contact fusion card. I don't know why people don't get that. Like literally, and it says it must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. It's literally not a contact fusion card. You can't summon it any other way. But 1 copy of it is fine, since it's searchable with Buster Whelp, because it is technically a Destruction Sword card. So it's searchable, and it's all in all pretty good. Most of your spells and traps are Destruction Sword cards, so they're searchable, which is pretty good. 1 copy of Monster Reborn. So this deck, it's really, really good, and it has a lot of consistency, but you want to draw into your reborn cards just so that you can get back your Crusadia cards and go into some plays. But 1 Monster Reborn and then 3 World Legacy Succession. So I didn't want to play World Legacy Guard Dragon since you really only run a few dragon monsters. Please ignore the background. The having 3 World Legacy Succession and 1 Monster Reborn is actually really good, considering that you're playing Crusadia cards, and you can pretty easily fuel the link plays there. 1 or 2 copies of Pot of Dichotomy. This is the only deck I've actually seen that can play this card. I've been trying to fit Pot of Dichotomy into every single deck I can, but I haven't been able to yet. But this is the perfect deck because you have the Crusadia cards, which are all different types. You got Psychic, you have Warrior, you have Dragon, and you have Spellcaster. So even if you need the Dragon cards, this only needs 3 types, which is really easy in this deck, considering that you have cards like Crusadia Magus, which can search your other cards, which is really, really good. Then I play 3 copies of Prologue of the Destruction Swordsman. So this card's actually really good. You can you activate this during your opponent's standby phase to summon out a Buster Dragon, and during your turn, you've probably already summoned out your Destruction Swords. You've already summoned out your Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. Plus, it's searchable. Then I play 3 copies of Destruction Sword Memories. Like, seriously, this is like the saddest card you've ever seen. But discard 1 card, special summon 1 Buster Blader from your deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard, fusion summon 1 Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordsman. So this is your other way of getting into Destruction Swordsman. And I actually did like this at 3 copies because it can special summon the Buster Blader, and you can fusion summon the other one just by banishing materials from your graveyard, which is actually really good because you can use those as a material, which is also helped by 2 copies of Trap Trick. So this just rounds off the deck. Really, these 2 cards are your most important cards in the deck because Prologue gets you into your Buster Dragon, and Sword of Memories gets you into your Swordsman, which locks out your opponent from card effects. So moving into the extra deck, I play 2 copies of Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. So this card is actually really, really good, and it's way better than all the other Buster Blader cards. Must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card cannot attack directly, which is fine. This card gains 1000 attack and defense for each dragon monster your opponent controls, and that is helped by Buster Dragon that turns all your opponent's monsters into dragon. Change all dragon monsters your opponent controls to defense position. Also, dragon type monsters in your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects. This card attacks defense position monster, inflict damage. So, on top of this being able to lock your opponent completely out of effects, it can inflict piercing damage, which kind of gets over the whole not being able to attack directly, because it gains 1000 attack for all their cards in their hand or in their field and graveyard, which is really, really good. Which means, like, if you're playing against Dragon Link, you don't even need to set up a Buster Dragon because you'll already have like 10,000 attack off of your Buster Blader. So it just depends on which deck you're playing against. You could set up a Buster Dragon, but sometimes you don't even need to. And then I play 2 copies of Buster Dragon. You want to have these at equal copies so that you can go into them. But then you want to have these at 3 copies each so you see them as often as possible. All monsters your opponent controls become dragon. Then once per turn, if you do not control a Buster Blader, you can target 1 Buster Blader in your graveyard, special summon it. Once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can target 1 Buster Blader monster you control, equip it with 1 Destruction Sword, and it's a quick effect. So that's really powerful, being able to like standby phase, equip it with a Destruction Sword to lock out your opponent from the extra deck, on top of locking them out of card effects or monster effects, which is actually really, really powerful. Plus, you have Omni negates through Appaloosa that you can actually set up pretty regularly. Like, this deck is really, really powerful. Then I played 2 copies of Saryuja Skulldread. This is actually mandatory at 2 copies because this helps you selectively pick through your hand, and it kind of really ups the consistency of this deck. You already have draw cards like Pot of Dichotomy, but having this is actually really, really important for the deck because it sets up your plays and being able to selectively add cards to your hand from that 4 cards you drew. 1 copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. You might want to switch this out for or a copy of access code, but I actually really like it in this deck just because I'm playing the Crusadia package, so I can use Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax really easily in this deck. Plus, people don't play it as often because access code is better, but I still think it's one of the best cards like in the game at this point. So don't sleep on this card. Really good. One Appaloosa because negation. One Protector Whelp of Destruction Swordsman. This card is actually really easy to summon, and it's really easy to play, considering that it only needs two. This card's link summoned. You can send one Destruction Sword card from your deck to the graveyard, then special summon one Buster Blader monster from your hand, which can actually up the consistency of the deck. Then, if you control no monsters, you can target one Buster Blader monster you control that did not declare an attack this turn, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. So you could actually just FTK your opponent. Okay, you can't FTK them unless you give them a bunch of tokens, which even then you still can't. But you can use Buster Blader, the Dragon Destroyer Swordsman. You can set it up. Then if your opponent is playing a combo deck, you're gonna have a lot of attack on this. Then you can just not attack and then burn your opponent for game with Protector Whelp. Then I play one copy of Halki Fibrax. This is really easy to get your Ouroboros or even your Destruction Sword cards, because those can help you further your Link plays, despite the fact that you don't have a Link 3 monster. It's actually decent to go into Saryuja or even an Appaloosa. So Halki Fibrax, really good. I don't play the engine in this deck because I hate it. Plus, it's a really easy to set up really broken combo boards on in this deck without having to without having to use Halki Fibrax combos. One copy of Spatha. This card's not as good as the Link one, but it's still pretty good. It helps you change up your position of God Dragon LP so that you can summon like a Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon from your deck, which can really, really help this deck, especially since you have cards like Crusadia Draco or even your Buster Sword cards, which can really help the deck of just being able to do plays. One copy of Crusadia Magus. So this card is actually really, really good. Being able to search out your Crusadia cards is super important for the deck, and it really ups the consistency, because even if you don't even if you already used your Draco or even your Reclusa, you can still search your Ouroboros and being able to use that to go into Halki Fibrax to just continue your plays from there to go into a Destruction Sword. One copy of LP and one copy of Pisty. You don't use Pisty as often, but you can use Pisty. I'm not the biggest fan of Pisty in this deck because it doesn't work as well, but I still think it's pretty decent. And one copy of Link Karibo, because this can help you further your plays, because you'll set up a downward pointing arrow. So that means you, even if you drew into a ton of Destruction Swords, you can still use this to summon out your Crusadia cards. So that is pretty much it for the deck. The deck is very, very consistent, and there are a few tech cards that you could have put into the extra deck to make it better, like Borlud Savage Dragon, or even a Boral Sword, considering that this deck can set up Link 4s pretty easily. But I really, really like this deck, and it's super overpowered. Like, you'd be surprised how well this deck works. And Pada Dichotomy, I am so happy that this card actually works in this deck. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, let me know what you thought, and let me know if there's anything you'd change about the deck. Would you change up the hand traps? Would you put Imperman? Would you change up the trap lineup? Although I do think this is the optimal trap lineup. But yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll see you in the next.